I really think it's quite apt that we begin our hunt for 60s treasures in front of the Singapore Conference Hall.
Oh, this was the former trade union house built in '65. The 1960s were strife with labor unrest, strikes and anarchy.
Well, it looks like we're really in for some exciting finds.
A time of political turmoil and rousing ideals, personal triumphs and tragedies, the rise of local music and tourism. Welcome to Singapore in the 60s.
Whenever people talk about the 60s, I get really excited when they refer to the golden age of Singapore music.
Well, that's right. There was a big explosion of local productions and things and bands. And even at the Cathay, the theatre, they had live bands performing before they screen a movie.
Really? Screaming bands and all that?
In their heyday, the local bands had huge and devoted followings. Showing your support for a band included buying their album. Back in the 60s, this would have been a vinyl record.
So it's probably safe to say that the craze for Singapore music and musicians in the 60s is kind of akin to the craze for K-pop today.
Yeah, I suppose so. Well, reading the blog of this individual we're going to meet, he really sure has quite a lot of stuff. And I think he has the largest collection of vinyls from 1960s.
Okay, that is truly significant, and I'm very interested in that.
Well, let's see what he brings today.
'60s musician Andy Lim's collection of local vinyl discs runs into the hundreds, but he's narrowed it down to a few choice favorites for us today.
So Andy, I read that it was like people like Cliff Richard who came to Singapore and performed at the Singapore Badminton Hall that inspired the 1960s golden age of music.
Right.
How true is that?
I don't know how far it's true if it was Cliff Richard and the Shadows who inspired, because before that we already had our music scene in the 50s. But if you want to talk about the recording stars who made their first records, and the first vocal group to record is called the Crescendos. Yeah, so that together with Cliff Richard's appearance, sparked off this big music scene, and we call it the golden age of music.
The first band Andy sang with was the Velvetones, a group consisting of him and his 4 best friends. Later he sang regularly with several other groups, including the Silver Strings.
The Silver Strings were actually an accompaniment group, they accompany singers. But they recorded with Shirley Nair and the 2 boys called the Beatles of Malaysia, Mike and Herb. This was later in the mid-60s. We played at the hotels, we played at cinemas like the Capitol, at the Rex Cinema.
What were the special places? What were the places where a lot of people would come to that are really popular?
You'll be very popular if you could play at the National Theatre.
Cover versions of Western songs were common, but it was the original songs composed by local music groups that left fans clamoring for more.
Did everybody record in English?
No, we had recordings in Chinese, and you would also have that same one singer and a group of 4. And then we had the pop ye-ye scene, where the Malay boys and girls get into the act, and the pop ye-ye comes from the Beatles, She Loves You,
Yeah. How cool!
Yeah. So, this group called the Trailers, they recorded this Phoenix theme, which I think has been so popular because it's a theme song, for Chinese New Year.
I want to hear the Phoenix. Let's hear the Phoenix first.
All right.
Wait for it.
I think so.
Oh my goodness!
There we go.
This is a Phoenix
This is a
song.
Phoenix
This
song.
is like a classic
Yes.
for Chinese New Year.
Yes, it is.
These guys recorded this song?
Yeah, and I think they sold a lot of records.
But check out the difference is because they put in Western instruments, drum sets, guitar, electric, guitar,
But yet,
things like
it
that.
does sound like Chinese music, but with that sort of go-go theme behind.
Well, a lot was done that way, using Western instruments. I mean, the 3 guitars and the drums playing a lot of Chinese songs, Malay songs. Yeah,
I love that.
Even the Indian songs.
It feels like a true definition of Singapore.
Yeah.
Andy, I got to ask you, this is a great collection, all these wonderful records. I'd like to ask your permission to include this in the People's Collection at the National Museum.
Sure, but only for a moment. Huh?
Only for a moment.
Not forever.
Not forever.
Sure.
Just for a little bit.
Yeah.